Now that you've had the Hootsuite introduction to Instagram, let's dive a little deeper into Instagram as a marketing tool. Forbes published an article last year that adds a few additional reasons for brands to be on Instagram on top of what's in your textbook. So I've posted this article in the Module 5 content on Georgia View. We're going to hit a few of those highlights here. And one big reason that brands should be on Instagram is that your followers are guaranteed to see your posts. With Instagram, 100% of the content that you post will be seen by your followers because as of now, July 2016, there's currently no way to block content from your account on Instagram unless you unfollow that account. So you're probably familiar with on Facebook how you can hide content from your newsfeed, even if you're following a brand, so that you're not seeing their content. Well, on Instagram, there's not yet a way to do that. So if you are following a brand, you're going to see their content. Another reason is that users are much more likely to engage on Instagram than other social networking sites. This study posted on Social Times showed that 68% of Instagram users engage with brands regularly, while only 32% of Facebook users engage with brands regularly. So much more engaging group on Instagram, likely to like your photos or regram your photos to their own followers. Instagram allows for creativity. Using pictures and videos is a form of visual storytelling. And so you've heard that a picture is worth a thousand words. And so when a user is scrolling through your brand's Instagram profile, they can get a really good feel for your brand and what your company stands for just by looking at the photos you post. It can also really help you as a brand relate to your audiences in a very different way than traditional marketing allows. Many brands are now posting behind the scenes images, and that helps give fans a look not only at your products, but how they're designed and how they're produced and how much love goes into making those products. The Forbes article states that the day-to-day normality gives followers a more personal connection with the brand because they see what happens in the background. So you can read all 8 of Forbes' reasons to be on Twitter in that article that I posted. One last point on why Instagram is a good marketing tool. We're going to go the kind of the opposite in why Instagram should not be used. And the one thing that's not going to happen on Instagram is not a traffic driver. So on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, even on Pinterest, so they're traffic drivers. So people can click a link or click a photo and they'll leave the social site and they'll go back to wherever you want them to go as a brand. So whether it's your company website or a storefront online, most other social networking sites are good for traffic driving. Instagram is not a traffic driver. So it's great for building awareness and great for engaging with your customers, but not for driving traffic. Before we talk about the content that works well on Instagram, we know why we want to use it, but what should we be posting? We're going to do a little sidebar on hashtags. So we mentioned hashtags in an earlier module, but I want to go into a bit more detail today. First of all, do you know the history of a hashtag? It's a really interesting story, and there is a Wikipedia page, and I'm sure many other pages kind of talking about the history. But there's a great story behind this. The hashtag has been used for a long time in the information technology industry to denote importance in matters of communicating within the industry. So it's an industry jargon. And then in 2007, Chris Messina, who actually now is a developer lead at Uber, posted this tweet on Twitter. How do you feel about using a hashtag pound for groups, as in hashtag Barcamp? So what he wanted to do at the time, he was trying to get a specific group of people who were talking about the same subject to somehow denote that the online conversation was all about the same subject. So it helped people group conversations. Well, at the time, it didn't really catch on. And he actually reached out to Twitter about it as a way to group conversations. And Twitter said to him, no, that's never going to work on this site. We're not going to do that. Well, later in 2007, the hashtag actually became popular to denote a group conversation when people started discussing the San Diego forest fires. So that was kind of the event where people wanted to all talk about the same thing online and started using this hashtag. And so then Twitter really kind of picked that up. But they didn't actually start hyperlinking hashtags until 2009 and created their trending topics, which we always see now, until 2010. So it took a couple years for hashtags to really catch on. But what I'm going for here is that hashtags are used to group topics and to make topics searchable. And so when Instagram launched in 2010, they adopted the hashtag as a way for users to group their conversations and photos relating to the same topic. And so today, many brands on Instagram and other social networking sites, Instagram and Twitter are the two big sites known for using hashtags. But many brands who are on Instagram are creating their own unique hashtag as part of their social media strategy to make their content searchable on social networking sites. So, one of the big things you can do on Instagram is create this unique hashtag. And so this is why you would want to create that unique hashtag for your brand so that people can search for you, or that you can search to see what people are talking about your brand using that clickable hyperlink. So back to our Instagram conversation. Remember that when you're gathering your content for Instagram, the best content to use is content that's visually going to tell your brand story. So let's talk about what people like to look at. People like to look, besides the memorable hashtag there, with Charmin's tweet from the seat, people like to see customer-centric photos. Many companies today are reposting user-submitted photos collected through hashtag searches. And so you're actually inviting your users to use your hashtag so that you can post things post images of your actual customers using your actual product. So that becomes a very good form of connection and interaction. And it's also a great way to get people to share your Instagram if they are featured on your Instagram. Employee-centric photos also work really well. Remember, people like to see that behind-the-scenes information and photos. Your employees are a huge part of your brand personality, so why not show them off? You shouldn't use your employees as product models, but rather use them in their natural work habitat. Personal connection is key here, right? So showing behind the scenes actions of employee birthday parties, or maybe really cool images of how employees decorate their cube or office space, or photos from a team exercise building day. Are very good photos to post because it gives customers that inside look, behind the scenes look at what your company is doing. Brand history photos make great content for Instagram. So you've probably heard of the TBT hashtag, Throwback Thursday, right? Well, brands really get in on that. And so this is a way to show history or use images from the past to kind of bring them back into circulation. So this is a good example from Dodge. They posted a photo on Instagram. Did you own hashtag Dodge diecast cars when you were young? Hashtag TBT. So kind of showing some brand history. General Electric is another brand that does a great job at using throwback photos to kind of show their brand history and bring it back into relevance today so that people can see kind of that historical look at the company. Instagram contests and promotion photos. My husband actually just told me this morning BarkBox is having an Instagram contest where you can upload a photo of your dog and use a specific hashtag and you can win a prize. So that's kind of a cool way that brands are using Instagram to get their customers very engaged. And so, of course, we did that, and I'll keep you updated on whether or not we win the prize. But it's a great way to get customers involved. It's a great way to get customers to use your hashtag in hopes that their friends and followers will click that hashtag to see what's going on, and then it will be connected back to the company. But here I have an example of Nordstrom with a promotion Instagram photo. So if you can read that, it says, like it. For every 10,000 likes this Insta receives, will lower the price by 10%. up to 30% off. So voting ends Friday at 5 p.m. and price changes on Saturday. The link is in the profile to shop. Tag a friend to spread the word, right? So then they have their outfit of the day hashtag and their Nordstrom shop hashtag. So, they're trying to get that 30,000 likes. And why are they trying to get that 30,000 likes? Well, they want to see how many people like their photo, and then they can look back and see how many people purchase the boots, I guess is what's on sale, right? So it's a great way to engage your customers and get them involved with your brand. So any type of contest or promotion usually is a successful type of content to use. We have to talk about product photos. Product photos are a big part of telling that brand story. So while customers don't like to be inundated with photos of your product, and that's not all they want to see, brands do need to post photos of their product. The idea on Instagram is to highlight that product in a very visually appealing way. Don't just take a simple photo of the product. So it's really necessary to kind of stylize that product and show them in use. So again, I'll have you look over here at that Nordstrom example on Instagram, and you don't just see a pair of boots sitting on a shelf, but you see a model wearing the boots, holding flowers on a busy street, right? So it gives it a little bit more of a stylized look so that customers can see what that product would actually look like on or in use. And finally, any type of quote, statistic, meme, GIF, or illustration is a very great way to post content on Instagram. Even if they really don't have a lot to do with your product or business, remember on social media, and especially on a site like Instagram, humorous and heartwarming content is a great way to get that content shared and a great way to build engagement and relationships and connections with your customers. What brands are you following on Instagram? I'm sure a lot of you now are following brands on Instagram. Brands have gotten very active in the last 3 or 4 years on this social platform. So who are you following? And if you take a look at their Instagram feeds, what are they doing right? What types of content are they posting? What makes you want to follow them? And from the social media perspective, are they using the site in an effective manner? So that's just a question you can think about and maybe help get the conversation going in the discussion boards for Chapter 9. So before we leave our Instagram conversation, the last thing I want to talk about is how often and when brands should be posting on Instagram. A study conducted in 2015 found that on average, brands are posting 1 to 2 photos a day. Now, like all other forms of social media, right, we have to talk about smaller brands, local, regional brands, or companies. They tend to post a lot more than that. But if you look at brands in general, 1 to 2 times tends to be the average. Now, unlike Facebook and Twitter, engagement doesn't drop after the second post on Instagram. So we talked about specifically how on Twitter and on Facebook that engagement goes down quite a bit if posts are getting too often on those social platforms, but that is not found to be true on Instagram. Customers are still engaging at the same rate on photo 10 as they are on photo 1. What that same study did find, however, was that 90% an Instagram post receives 90% of its engagements within 10 hours of posting. So by logic, 2 a day makes perfect sense, 1 every 10 hours. Brands in some consumer products, like I said, especially apparel and accessories, are posting upwards of 20 photos a day. But really, as long as you're posting 2 times and you're really getting that level of engagement within that 10-hour window, that's really all you need to post on Instagram. So how about when? Instagram, what we've seen in the past, 4 or 5 years, Instagram has a fairly steady usage throughout the week. There really hasn't been a day identified as a better to post than others to reach consumers. And I think the reason being is that what we've found in most studies of Instagram is that off-work hours receive the most engagement, regardless of the day of the week. Off-work hours tends to be a good time to post. Now, given that life of an Instagram post is around that 10 hours, posts are receiving engagements and well into that 10th hour, timing doesn't play as large a role in our post decisions yet. Now, as Instagram continues to grow and brands continue to find new ways to use Instagram, I'm sure we'll see a lot more studies on the usage and how and when brands are posting. But since this is such a relatively new site for our brands to use, brands have really only been on Instagram since 2014. We're still trying to figure out what the optimal timing strategy is for this site. So that kind of wraps up our conversation on Instagram and how brands use Instagram. We will come back in Module 6 to how brands are paying to use Instagram from an organic perspective. We've now covered everything. So part 3 of Chapter 9, the lecture, is going to talk about another very, very new social networking site used for image sharing, Snapchat. I do want you to go and look at Hootsuite University. You're going to watch a video there in SDMD 161, and it's just a few more best practices for sharing content on Instagram.